For a few years in the 1970s, the Mr. Asia Syndicate made millions.
Heroin creates its own market. It acts like a form of plague.
Until jealousy, betrayal and murder brought it all crashing down.
Clark would have threatened him. Go and kill him. If you don't, I'm going to kill you and your wife and your son.
This is Mr. Asia, a forgotten history. Listen to episode 5 now on iHeartRadio or wherever you get your podcasts.
You're listening to the Weekend Sport Podcast with Jason Pine from News Talk ZB.
Super Rugby Pacific continues to deliver. Round 4 opened last night with an upset at Eden Park.
The Brumbies have it under lock and key. The siren goes. The arms go up for the Brumbies. They win at Eden Park for the first time in 12 years. 21-20. The Brumbies stun the Blues in the Garden of Eden.
They certainly did. Among those in attendance last night was Super Rugby Pacific CEO Jack Mesley, who's joined us in studio. Did the Australian in you enjoy watching the Brumbies beat the Blues last night, Jack?
Well, I mean, as the competition administrator, unexpected results are good for us, so I'll put it that way, Piney. I was kindly hosted by the Blues, and yeah, it was a quiet box there at the end.
I can imagine it would have been. But as you say, the ongoing jeopardy, including upset results, must be something you're very, very happy about. In overall terms, first of all, how happy are you with the first 3 and a bit rounds of Super Rugby this year?
Yeah, we're thrilled, and thrilled with the response from fans through audiences and crowds. To have records broken like the Brumbies broke last night, the Western Force broke in playing the Brumbies, some long-term wins that they haven't been able to achieve for years. That's really exciting for the competition. So, you add those close games, those unexpected results to the way in which it's being played. Really great running rugby. We're seeing records in metres run and, the best ever season in terms of average points scored in the 30 years of Super Rugby. So those two things combined, close margins and the style of play we're seeing is really exciting.
So those on-field metrics, that's interesting because you and I have spoken and we've talked about crowd numbers, we've talked about viewer numbers. Those are off-field things, obviously, but you are also looking at on-field metrics when you're judging the success of Super Rugby?
Yeah, absolutely. I think the way we kind of can look at our whole strategy is our core product. That is the thing that we sell. And so that has to be great. So we look at our core product, we look at fan engagement, and we look at commercial outcomes. So our starting position is always how good is our core product. And we did a lot of work in the off-season and as the administration have done in the past couple of seasons on how do we set this product up for success. We've got the best athletes, as we've talked about. We've got the best coaches. We've got the best match officials. What do we do to make sure that they are all set up for success to go out there and do what they all can do? And, that's a combination of the law innovation that we've been driving and pushing. And then, what's the direction we give the match officials in terms of what do we want to see? And within that, we've got up to like 60 different measures around what we call our shape of game. And that's everything from, number of scrums, lineouts, number of penalties, number of tries, etc. Also time taken to do those things. So where does the time go? And really our job is to look at law innovation, look at match official interpretation, and then work with the teams on where we want to really emphasise focus to make sure the product's set up for success. So what fans would have seen this year is those law innovations that are helping with that. The 9 having a bit more protection, meaning the ball's clearing quicker. But you probably also heard through the refs' mics on broadcast, the refs being quite hard on the 9, get rid of it, play it, or counting down, or use it 1, 2, set the scrum and move on. Also waving off the water runners and playing on through minor injuries. So all of those things, along with the law innovation, and then just the general intent of the coaches and the players to have an absolute crack, I think is really what's setting it up for success.
What about TMO involvement? Is that one of those metrics or lack of? I guess yes. In an ideal world there's none, right? But there has to be some. But is that a metric?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, so we've got a variation in World Rugby laws on TMO. So what we've agreed with World Rugby is that our TMO intervention will be only around foul play and only around try scorings, but but led by the on-field referee. So the on-field referee owns the game, and he can go to those things unless it's foul play that will get called in. So what you now see is less TMO intervention than when you might have been watching the ABs up in the north, or if you're watching Six Nations, and that's quite deliberate. But player safety is absolutely paramount. So we absolutely need those TMOs there to make sure that should the on-field guys and the ARs miss something, that we're picking that up.
Sky Sport released some viewer numbers this week. 1.14 million have tuned into Super Rugby Pacific across the first 3 rounds on Sky Sport and Sky Open. That's a 12% rise on last year, which, those are encouraging numbers. What about in Australia, Jack? What are viewer numbers like over there?
Yeah, well, we just released some numbers with Stan and with Nine, and both of those are so Nine, the free-to-air, and Stan, the streaming, are both up over double digits. And really importantly in Fiji as well, we're seeing great growth, 40% growth in our viewership numbers in Fiji as well. So yeah, really promising signs, and that's off the back in New Zealand of a great year last year where we also had double-digit growth. So we really want this momentum to continue year on year.
How happy are you with crowd numbers? In-game spectating.
Yeah, I think we're pretty pleased. Round 1 was especially good. I think we're 40% up on round 1 last year. And then round 2, we had Super Round last year in Melbourne, so we couldn't really get a comparative analysis. Round 3 was good as well. So, I think we're really pleased. And I know last night the Blues, they would love to see a full Eden Park, but for a Brumbies match, I think that was kind of above expectation. So there's lots of room to go on that, but we've just got to chip away at it, and it's really pleasing to see all the work the clubs are doing to drive initiatives to continue to fill stadiums. So, if we talk about, the Chiefs and their Rhythms and Rugby Music Festival, great innovations to be doing, and we've got Kids Rounds next weekend. The clubs are doing some great stuff there with Marvel to really try to bring those younger fans into stadiums.
I guess from your point of view, it wouldn't matter on your balance sheet, would it, if nobody turned up? Because the revenue you get is from broadcast. But it must, it looks better on TV for a start if it's a full stadium. So that is still an important, I'll use that word again, metric for you, the crowds that are coming to games?
Absolutely. It is fundamental for club P&Ls, and the competition cannot succeed unless it has healthy clubs. So, yeah, I think it is absolutely important. And we also know that, when you will engage with a broadcast even more when you have full stadiums with high energy and high atmosphere. So, yeah, when we're talking to the broadcasters, they want full stadiums, they want great pitches, as do clubs, as do comps. So, yeah, I think, yes, broadcast revenue is a significant piece of our whole economy, if you like. But crowds are absolutely vital to fuel that, but also to drive club P&Ls that are absolutely, reliant on people turning up.
We've seen afternoon rugby as well. More to come tomorrow in Christchurch, of course. Is that something that you're committed to, that you're keen to see continue?
Absolutely. I think, when we talk about style of play and shape of game, there's no doubt the weather is helping, with that ball movement, with those tries and with handling, and probably the heat as well. The heat when it's so hot in Fiji, in Perth, even in ACT, we've had a few drinks breaks that we've had to bring in. That's bringing fatigue into the game. So yes, I really love it. I think watching Napier in the sunshine the other day. I'm going down to Christchurch tomorrow, and I can't wait to see Christchurch, hopefully in sunshine. I really love it, and I think as we've talked about, we want time slots that help different people get to games, and late night games are really tough for people with young families. A 7:30 kickoff, means it's a well past bedtime by the time you're getting home, getting back from a stadium. So if we can continue to do that, that's really good, and I think. Really pleasingly, because we have scheduled some quite big matchups in those day slots, the fact that that's still driving a really good TV result is really promising for me.
Is there anything you're not happy with from the first month, or anything that is a work on that you'd like to see improvement in?
Yeah, I think, always. Yeah, absolutely. And I think we've been pretty transparent that, we've got a long way to go. So what we hope we're doing is bedding in some of these foundational things like our communication flow each week, like fantasy, like new tools. But yeah, well, I mean, there's plenty more we can be doing. The interesting thing is with close result, there is microscope on match official decisions. There's microscope on TMO and citing commissioners and things like that. So, I think it's a blessing and a curse. We have close games. Everyone looks at the incident in the 78th minute, and there's a lot of tension on that. But that's not a bad thing. What we've got to do is just make sure all of our processes are as good as they can be and are as tight as they can be. And yeah, we'll continue to do that. We think we've got great processes around those things. And across the board, there's always opportunities.
Our guest in studio is Super Rugby Pacific CEO Jack Mesley. Jack, we had a story come to light this week about some major travel disruption and accommodation issues for the Fijian Drua during their round 2 clash with the Hurricanes. Their bus didn't turn up to take them to Napier. They travelled in the back of a truck that was there to transport all their gear. Have you gotten to the bottom of what happened here?
Yeah, we have. We're very aware of the situations as they were unfolding and had very clear communication with the Drua post that weekend. And no doubt, extremely disappointing what happened. But we've done a full review about the number of logistical issues that happened. There are several oversights and breakdowns in communications which sort of created the challenges for the Drua. But these have been addressed with both clubs and an external transport provider, and we're very confident that they have been addressed and dealt with. Really disappointing what happened, but we've done the review. We know where those issues were, and we've dealt with them. And yeah, we won't really be commenting further. We don't want to go into those, but disappointing, but dealt with.
Can I just ask you though, where does ultimate responsibility lie for travel and accommodation of Super Rugby sides?
That is a multiple different parties are involved with every set of player movements. So the club itself, SANZAR and Super Rugby Pacific, the hosting club, and then obviously a raft of suppliers that then deliver that. So there is no single point of breakdown here. There is no one to point the finger at. This is because of the complexity and the number of different parties involved. It's the breakdown in comms between some of those parties that have led to some of these issues. So I know everyone wants to point the finger, but there isn't a single place to point that finger.
What takes up most of your time on a day-to-day and week-to-week basis? We're getting into the nitty-gritty of your job here. Yeah. But, when you turn up at work on a Monday, I mean, I know you'll be travelling back this Monday, but when you turn up at work, yep. What takes up most of your time day-to-day?
Yeah, so the early part of our week in season is all about, as you said, like what can we do better? We review every weekend and, the match officials will do a review. We'll do a review of our communications. We'll do a review of all the different elements. And so then we'll have a series of meetings to look at, what happened, what went wrong, what do we want to communicate, more broadly, because we do want to be more transparent with what's going on in the competition. So that's the early part of the week, and then we'll get into, really flipping that into the promotion of the coming week. But really importantly, and what we're really trying to change is also, particularly in my role with the board, is getting further out. So, we're already doing a lot of work about 26, thinking about fixturing, thinking about how, fixture can optimise crowds, for example, as you asked earlier. So, yeah, it's a balance of the here and now with getting out in front of future, 26 and beyond. But clearly, when you're in a competition like this, it can take you any which way. We've got everything from, HIA to sighting to cyclones. Some of our work this week has been about making sure the Reds are in a good spot, not just with their travel, but making sure, they've got families at home going through all this as they're in Christchurch, and then they play the Tars next week in Suncorp Stadium. So starting to deliver contingency plans for travel for them and venues potentially. and also, you know, match officials who are some of whom are based in Brisbane. So yeah, I mean, there's never a dull moment, and whilst we try to schedule our week and make sure that we have time set away for long-term planning and things like that, you just never know what might come up.
Where are we with the 12th team?
Well, I mean, yeah, we are looking at options for expansion, not specifically a 12th team. So right now, what we're doing is looking at the long term and what that might hold for Super Rugby. Not specifically just trying to find one team, because we're not sure, or we don't believe one team is an easy solution within our current geography, and one team from further afield becomes really problematic. And so whilst it solves a fixturing problem, if you like, it creates a whole lot of different issues for us if we have one team from, you know, wherever that might be. Let's say Japan or the US or whatever. Having a lone wolf over the other side of the world is really problematic. So we're looking at options for expansions more holistically, but that's a few years away that we are thinking about that. More importantly, we're thinking about how is this competition optimised and working well. And I think, you know, we're 4 rounds into 11-team competition. So, you know, it's still very early days on what does that actually deliver. Clearly, you've seen the player depth benefit for the Australian teams. There's also other things like, you know, more buys. Does that help? Does that hinder? So there's still a lot of learnings for us to take place with 11-team competition. And as we think about next year with an 11-team competition, how we optimise the fixture to drive greater outcomes for our clubs and for our stakeholders and for fans, that's our immediate focus.
Okay, so we can say that there won't be an extra team added in 2026.
Correct.
Look forward to seeing progress there. A couple more for you, Jack. I know you've got to get away. How much engagement are you getting from Fantasy Super Rugby?
Yeah, it's been incredible. I think we're about 65,000 participants. I heard a stat the other day that said I think there's been 1 million transfers. So, yeah, really encouraging that we're seeing that repeat engagement throughout the rounds. And, so beyond that, you know, you can see it's just, you know, everyone's talking about it, whether in broadcast, whether the shoulder content, whether you guys. I was in your building here just yesterday doing an interview with Chris, and I could see the screens of some of the employees just fiddling up there with their fantasy teams, which was great to see. So that's one, and that's fantastic. You know, we're really pleased with that. I think what's you know, the secondary benefit is, you know, people are learning more about other teams, other players. And people are then switching on to see those other games, to see how they might go, and that's exactly what we want. And then the other part is what we're seeing is that there's a whole lot of people that haven't been engaging with Super Rugby Pacific come in. So you can see people as they sign up. We're getting, you know, a whole lot of people from, you know, a school, for example, that one person's got on it, and then spreading that. And, you know, we're unashamedly saying that we do have a strategic intent to drive engagement with a younger audience that haven't necessarily engaged with Super Rugby Pacific before, and this is obviously helping us do that.
All right. And are you expecting another upset tonight when you watch Moana Pacifica take on my Hurricanes at Albany Stadium, Jack?
Oh, well, firstly, I can't wait to go out there because, you know, last week just looked so good, I thought. See Moana Pacifica's, you know, whole proposition come to life, you know, hearing the crowd singing hymns in those last couple of minutes to help them get over the line, which unfortunately they couldn't do. They've had 3 such close matches, so my heart goes out to MP who have just, you know, been so unlucky. But the Canes have been good, I think. So it's going to be a tight one again. Seeing Artie come up against his old club is going to be really interesting. No doubt there'll be a few Canes players trying to nullify him, but, you know, he's a hard man to nullify, isn't he?
Indeed. That's what's worrying me. That is one of the things that's worrying me. Jack, great to get the chance to have a long chat with you about the competition. Look, it's going great. I think by every metric that you've mentioned, things are going well. It's very watchable. A lot of people are watching it. The players are clearly enjoying it. Thanks for stopping in for a chat, mate. Enjoy the rest of your stay in New Zealand, and we'll catch up again soon.
Anytime. Thanks for having me, Pony.
Good on you, mate. That's Jack Mesley, CEO of Super Rugby Pacific, joining us here on News Talk ZB and Weekend Sports.
For more from Weekend Sport with Jason Pine, listen live to News Talk ZB weekends from midday or follow the podcast on iHeartRadio.